Hi, everyone, and welcome back to this edition of In Our Humble Opinion.
Ayo.
Customarily so. Ayo. We have got some stuff that we'd like to raise today on today's show. Let me just give you a rundown of what they are. We're going to be talking about a real cuckoo bird to start with, and as usual, yours truly have all the saucy stuff lands on my beautiful lap, and I don't know why, but as usual.
Is it because you're a bit cuckoo? No.
Maybe. I mean, amongst the three of us, one of us has got to be insane, you know what I mean? And after that, we'll be telling you about something that's happening in Tokyo, my favorite place. Why? Because the girls are so cute. And then on top of that, my dear friend Gilbert will take over, and he'll tell you something strange that's happening on board a particular ship somewhere in the world. And Daisy will be bringing up this issue. MediaCorp, what have you done? And then something, of course, that warms the sea hum of our hearts, that we'll be talking about, that Gilbert will be raising as well, and something kind of news, kind of refreshing.
Yep.
And so this is what we have in line or in store for you on today's edition of IO. Now, this is how I'm going to start this off. Usual, Chris gets all the funny kinds of stories that got to be raised. And it is about this guy, this netizen, who before the GE had said that if the opposition wins another GRC, he is going to snip off his appendage. I quote what he wrote, and I have to say it because he put it in abbreviations. He wrote it down, I will cut my KKJ.
Okay, that appendage.
I don't know. Do you know what KKJ?
Well, these are all appendages, so.
Because dear Daisy, as I expected as much, wouldn't understand what KKJ, Kukujiao. Okay.
So
But
you
you
are
have to know what that
cuckoo.
is.
Now this one cuckoo. So
Do you know what a KKJ is?
He just said cuckoo.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
What's the J? It's Kukujiao. So it means.
But you know what that means, I hope.
Do you know what it means? Oh, good
Oh
grief.
gosh, okay.
No,
you
It's a
go.
Hokkien term
For-
and basically means a penis. The proper word for it.
I got it when he said appendages, but I
Okay.
didn't.
Okay, so now
say
you know
it's
that's-
jiao.
yeah.
So
So
now you
jiao
know.
is penis.
Actually, you got to say it a little bit more panache. It's called Kukujiao.
Kukujiao.
Correct. You can't go
Kukujiao.
Kukujiao.
I'm glad
you
we're
know?
Can
not
I
on
use
free
it?
to air.
How
You
do
will
I
just
use
be
it?
bleeped, you know.
Kukujiao.
What's there to bleep?
I think you should have learned how to use it decades ago.
But now I have that party with my Indian friends, and I'm going, kukujiao.
Oh, good grief.
Okay,
Well,
it's
they
not
wouldn't
quite
know
how
what
we
to
do it, but it doesn't matter.
Okay,
Okay,
doesn't
never mind. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, anyway,
So he threatened to cut off his KKJ
Yeah, and
if
if the opposition wins another GRC.
okay.
So I tell you, netizens being netizens, right? Because we do know what happened. The opposition
won.
did
Did
win
win, yes.
another GRC, and everyone remembered what this guy wrote.
Right.
And they went on it and said, "Where is your
Your kukujiao?"
And the guy's done the disappearing act, you
Yes.
know. So it's so
No,
For
but I
him,
read that
right,
after that
Chris,
he was
It would have
banned.
been a very unpleasant sight.
Yes. No, but I read that he was banned from the forum then.
I don't know. What's
Yes, he was banned. He tried to come back in, but he was banned. So that is the thing that surprised me, because are they really serious that they really wanted
should
him to
want
do
to,
because
this?
yeah.
he did say that if he doesn't do it, he asked him to ban him. You're right. But
he
He
said-
actually
asked them to
yes,
ban.
if I
okay.
don't do it, you can ban me.
Oh, okay.
So did they really do it?
Yeah, they did.
Oh,
That's the thing which I read, that they
So-
banned
so-
him. And I didn't get that. I didn't know he had said this to them.
He did.
basically. So now I can't figure out whether or not he is a PAP supporter and opposition supporter by making a bet like that. I mean, seriously, if you're saying that I don't think the PAP will lose because they are so strong, blah, blah, blah. Is it because he's an opposition supporter? I mean, either way, it's a stupid bet to make. But
I don't think it's an opposite.
Well,
It doesn't sound like, I mean, someone saying that, right?
Yeah.
If they win one more GRC, I'll cut it off. It didn't sound that way to me,
Right.
that he was a supporter.
I think in the first place he shouldn't have given himself this option
Yeah,
of
well,
being
obviously,
allowed
to
to
be
be banned.
banned, yeah.
Then you're talking, because
Oh.
then he knew that
I
he
tell
has
you,
no
politics
choice.
does crazy things to people, man.
No, but I think what's important is to tell all the guys out there, guys, for goodness sake, take care of your jewels. Don't pledge them for anything. Don't even use them as collateral for your mortgage.
Yes.
Whatever it is, keep it in your denims. Keep your budgie in your budgie
Yeah,
smuggler.
and we don't want to see
And
it.
let it cuckoo from there.
Yes. And
Don't be-
actually, yeah.
Don't be a cuckoo bird.
Yes, don't be cuckoo bird. And actually, since we're on the topic of politics, maybe this would be a good time for us to raise this point about
Sure,
Jameis,
sure,
right?
sure.
Yeah?
Why not?
Go
Why
ahead.
not?
So, this is interesting because we all know about Jameis Lim, of course. He scored an upset with his team and won the
GRC.
which
Which
is
is
related to this
to
story.
your Kukujiao.
Yeah, okay. In Sengkang. And I think it's a wonderful step forward, certainly for Singapore electoral politics. Now, interestingly, because Jameis posted a post on his Facebook page where he gave a very scholarly, detailed analysis of minimum wage in Singapore, because there's a discussion in Singapore about the minimum wage,
Yeah.
right? And his post has been very well received. It's gotten over almost 2,000 shares and over 1,000 comments on
Wow.
it, almost universally praised. But this is what I found interesting about the post, was that if you read the post, it is actually very scholarly, very academic, very in-depth, all right? And what's the Hokkien word for it? Is chim,
Correct.
right?
But that's
Yes.
because he is an associate professor.
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So he comes from
yes.
there. Yeah.
So a couple of thoughts I have, and you guys can tell me what you think. First of all, I think it's great that he's elevating the level of debate in Singapore politics, because previously when people talked online, especially, it was a lot of vitriol. It's a lot of basically short answers and short responses. He's gone into real depth here. Okay.
on social media.
On social media, and it gotten a good response. So I'm heartened by this, and I hope that this elevates the level of debate in Singapore. Okay, but it also leads me to think that if a PAP MP had posted something like this, right, I don't think the response would have been quite as good. And the reason for that is because they would have then said these eggheads who are governing us, just to give you, I'll just read to you one or two sentences from what Jameis wrote here, right? He said, as it turns out, almost all meta-analysis for the US and UK find little or no employment effects for minimum wages. The outlier is Newmark Washer. So much like studies on anthropogenic climate change, the evidence mostly points in one direction, but it isn't unanimous. Very recent studies also tend to support the notion that minimum wages generate little employment effect even for low-wage workers, and even when the jump is quite substantial. As I said, a bit cheap, okay? So I think if a PAP MP had posted something like that, they would be derided and attacked, and they would not have gotten away with it. So it's great. It's great that an opposition member who has got the goodwill of the people in this honeymoon period after a good win and who is charismatic is raising the level of debate. And my hope is that as we go forward, there will be more of these kinds of thoughtful exchanges between the parties and their followers. It's very important because the followers tend to be the ones who are flinging mud at each other of every party. Please, let's elevate the debate in Singapore. Let's have more of this kind of intelligent discourse rather than mudslinging. Kudos to Jameis for this and for the people for accepting it.
In my opinion, it's refreshing. Why? Because it's a great start. For these guys, that they don't treat us like kids.
Yeah.
Even though it's chim, but I think a lot of people would appreciate the fact that there's some amount of transparency.
Yeah.
That guys, why we said what we said. Now
Yes.
take a look at this, and then he gives you the links and all
Yes,
that, right?
exactly.
Yes.
You go to these links, and I think in time maybe he realized that, hey, I think I got to maybe dumb it down a little bit so that anyone can understand what I'm talking about.
Yep.
That's my only feedback for that, right? I mean, dumb it down so that the layman in the street can understand, right? Because a dingbat like me read that and I go, oh God, what the heck is that?
But I mean, not.
Yeah.
Hey,
But I-
first of all, you're not a
think-
dingbat. I mean, certainly for
Yeah.
me, even reading this, I'm like, okay, I have to read that several times.
But I think listening to what both of you say is that it is very apparent now that change is coming.
Yes.
I think the bigger picture is about having a ruling party that has been around for so long, and they have always thought they know their electorate so well, and that yes, this is what they want. They don't want so cheap. Like you said, these are the lay people that I'm connecting with, and now they're also realizing that no, they might have lost the plot somewhere.
Well, I think it's good to give people that option.
They need to reconnect, and you're right. This could be that spark, that trigger, which will make the PAP, because the PAP MPs can also come up with enough cheap stuff.
Yes,
I'm sure.
I have no doubt
and
about that.
That is
the
why
ministers
it will
especially.
be, And I look forward to that then,
Yes,
you know.
yes, that's the thing. Because, so often when I read what's online, it is very base stuff. Very, not basic, but base, meaning low.
Yeah, but that's what they've always felt.
Yes.
That to connect, like,
but a lot of
the
opposition...
grassroots.
A lot of the
Remember the
opposition-
word, grassroots.
Yes.
Their level, grassroots.
Yeah, but the thing had been that some of the followers, not all, had been just throwing out things like, get rid of foreign workers in Singapore, damn this, damn that, So it's been a very dumbing down kind of situation, which we need to get away from, basically.
I think fundamentally, what Daisy said just now, which you agree, that if someone from the PAP, for example, were to do this, and like you said, it might not be readily accepted.
Yes.
Like you said, is also very welcomed.
Yes.
But I would like to add that it's always about the tonality of how it's delivered. I think in my opinion, that the way, though it's chim, the way it was delivered by James is relatable to an extent because there's a lot of earnest. It's so earnest the way it's done. Like I'm really excited about this. I really want you guys to understand this. I really want to put it across to you.
But
And it's
you know,
not
Chris,
arrogant. It's not arrogant. It's not like I know better than you, basically.
But
right?
adding to your tonality, I think when a person, and this is just my opinion, that when a person starts off his career, being this young associate professor, he is also now working on his reach, like we would say it in broadcasting terms, because it is important to know, okay, who is the first layer that easily comes on board, that is willing to hear me out, hear my debate out, hear my proposition out. So you need a starting point. And once he gets them on board, from that itself, it has to grow, and from the grassroots, you become a forest.
But on that note, I also like to give some credit. I mean, outside of this, I'd like to give some credit to our Prime Minister. Why? Because almost immediately, Pritam Singh was he Prime Minister said that will be the leader of the opposition, in Parliament,
which is an official position.
Well, correct. Which I think it was very gracious.
Yes.
And it also bodes well as far as a citizen, me as a citizen is concerned. Because remember what I said at the end of the last episode that we shot. And I said that what my wish list would be is that there's going to be unity somewhat in Parliament when it comes to comes to policy making, when it comes to doing it for the benefit of the people and for the nation. And by PM doing that, I think it bodes well.
Yes,
it
I
looks
agree.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Not to take away from the PM, and yes, it was very gracious, but I also think it was the necessary thing to do at that time. Because I don't think you can just move on without accepting.
Yeah, but if you look at other countries' elections, they don't always do the necessary thing.
No, but we have been different because for 60 years the same party has been ruling.
Yeah, but this is the first time that they've actually
so
done
it is
this.
like I
Yes,
said,
yes,
it is
yeah.
gracious.
It's the first time I've
but
ever
you
seen it.
realize,
Which is
see, that's
overdue.
what they talked about, change. You know change is coming,
Exactly.
and it is good
And-
to
and-
be on board with the change
and also,
instead of trying to resist
and
it.
also on that subject, I give credit to Pritam Singh and his reaction after the win. He was not gloating. He was not high-fiving. He was actually, he didn't even smile when he gave the interview. He says, I'm not at all euphoric. I know the hard work that lies ahead.
Yes.
And I think that's the right approach because honestly, guys, we face a lot of challenges. Singapore is so tiny. I always remind people of this, and sometimes people forget this, is that there are private farms in other countries that are much bigger than the whole of Singapore. This is how tiny Singapore is. Singapore could disappear tomorrow and the world would just go on without noticing, you know? So we face a lot of big challenges, and I think it's so good that we have a leader of the opposition now and someone who realizes that they need to work with the PAP
And the two,
opposition parties
that nominated the members who have come
to
in
solve the
from
real
BSP.
problems. Because
Yes.
sometimes, honestly, I get very disheartened reading comments online from all political parties' supporters because it's so vitriolic, it's so base, it is so low blow that it makes you feel like, what is humanity coming to? So to see the leaders this way, including James in this post, I think it gives us hope. Let's hope it does get better.
Let's
Yes.
move to Japan.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, let's move to Japan. From
My
Singapore to Japan.
favorite
Yes,
place,
Singapore to
you know.
Japan. Yes,
My
sir.
favorite place.
Your favorite place.
My favorite
Keep it
place.
G-rated.
I mean, oh gosh, the girls are so cute. Anyway, my wife's watching the show. Okay, so there's a spike in COVID-19 infections in Tokyo, and it's actually the spike comes from or stems from the nightlife that's in
Nightlife.
Tokyo, the nightlife districts.
Yeah, okay.
So the metropolitan government released educational videos in the form of a Q&A, right? Between there are nightclubs, naughty nightclubs, where the ladies would go to one for ladies, the men would go to one.
Really? Even the
Oh,
ladies have won.
Hey, it's Japan.
Okay.
So there's been a Q&A, that's been done between
Q&A between?
the nightclub hosts or hostesses and a doctor, hoping to spread the message of the outbreak
Of the coronavirus.
to these guys and ladies who actually end up in these night spots, right? So you have a hostess, if you watch the video, who go, so how can I get infected, huh?
That's so un-Japanese.
No,
it sounds
let
very
me-
alien,
no,
which is
and
probably
let me just tell
your
you-
experience.
No, I didn't hear anybody talking like this. This is two guys talking. Let me talk as a woman who
Aiyo.
thinks, no. I think these are difficult times, especially when you are in a profession.
Yes,
whether
which is
you are
so
in
much
a
physical
nightclub,
contact.
whether you are a sex worker, whether you're a
Yes.
masseuse. And when you go, first of all, are nightclubs essential services? We can debate about that. But those who think they are and do visit, one of the most important things is how do you social distance? I mean, we've known this, we've been through it. Some of our people were also caught doing this a while back. We
The
actually
Daisy.
talked about this. No, but where I'm concerned, I think if there is any way to go to these people, to give them education, and I'll tell you why. I remember those days when this whole HIV AIDS was on.
Yeah.
And again, there was panic. It was matter about educating the correct
Absolutely.
people.
So-
now, in this case,
Yeah.
in the coronavirus, okay, the problem that we have is you can't just wear a condom and it's going to go away. That can't be there, unfortunately.
There's nothing
So-
large enough to put over your head, though.
yeah,
but
so it's really important
Yeah.
that this, in
Well,
whichever
in
form,
fact,
you
yeah,
have
yeah.
a doctor, you have these hostesses, at least there's some education going on about what can and cannot be
I
done.
was about to say basically that it would seem like this is nothing new for these hostesses because they've had to learn about safe sex practices before as well, right? So this is just another form of medical education.
yeah, but what's the
But
point
with-
of even
but
having
corona-
that going on? Because even social distancing and this kind of clubs or nightclubs, right?
It's difficult.
If
It doesn't
you're a
even
hostess,
exist.
and then imagine if your customer has got to sit where you're sitting, right? Well, I mean, what?
No, I agree. No. And it's not funny. And you will not laugh on that because it is true. You have taken that profession, you have to do it. And yes, you can't social distance like this because
But it
it's
is
your
okay.
profession.
No.
But you try
No.
to
But
be safe,
this is
right?
the medical fact. Okay, again, as the medical reporter, COVID is a respiratory illness,
Right.
and it transmits mainly through the respiratory
and-
droplets. So they can have the whole face covered up, but leave other parts of the anatomy open,
Right. Open.
for whatever purposes.
Why are you pointing it
No,
out?
because you- right, Chris?
No, because you said no.
Why you guys? Do I have that look? Do I?
I'm
what
just-
I'm trying to say
No,
is
but that's the
well
point.
done. Well done.
Yes.
Whatever education can be given in whichever way should
Of
not
course.
be trivialized.
Yes.
Well
Not at
done,
all.
is
I
all
think
I'm
it's-
going
I
to
think
say.
it's good.
All
Good
right?
for the Japanese to lead
Good
this
for
way.
the Japanese.
And I don't know whether in Singapore they might want to do this for the
Sex workers. The
Sex
Project
workers.
It's not
X.
open yet.
Project
It's not
X,
open
remember?
yet.
in-
No.
Oh, you see,
I mean, I wouldn't know, but I would think that.
he volunteered the info that he says I wouldn't know. Okay?
No,
wouldn't
but let us say that
Come
at
on,
some
how
point
can
of
it be
time.
open?
No, let's say at some point of time, as you slowly the circuit breaker lifted,
Okay.
and like
Because
any
in
other
Singapore it's
profession,
legal, you know,
yes,
right?
it's Project
In the
X.
brothel.
Remember,
Yeah,
we were
yeah,
talking
Project X,
about
that's
them,
right, yes.
and education in any way,
Absolutely.
to be safe,
Yeah.
safe
Wear
distancing.
Wear a mask
Yeah,
still.
whatever they feel is
Yeah.
right for them.
You don't
Because
need the
remember
bra, but
Korea?
wear the mask.
Remember Korea? The whole thing started because of that nightclub visit. Do you remember Korea, Chris? Do you remember Korea?
I don't think he was responsible for that, but okay. Point
okay.
taken.
Point
yeah?
taken. All right.
All of a sudden, I'm the
Now,
guy. I'm the
because-
guy that's doing all the last up stuff,
Okay,
and,
so
and then
now-
it just seems to everybody
No,
that
in
I'm
your
the guy that does
previous life,
all.
in your previous life, I'm sure you know a man about.
I
town
was
like
about to
you.
be a priest.
About time.
Yeah, right.
Why in the previous life?
Well, he's married now.
Oh, okay.
In my
I didn't-
previous life, I
didn't
was
know-
supposed to have been a priest, I guess.
Then the church basically burst into flames.
And now, oh
And he
God.
entered.
Okay, now that we are going
Or he
global,
did.
Gilbert, move to Argentina.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
We've gone Singapore, we've gone Tokyo, and now
Okay,
Argentina.
so a strange story here. I mean, you know, I've only seen this reported really on todayonline.com. So they couldn't do too much research on this. But basically, they're trying to solve a medical mystery because there were 57 sailors who were infected with the virus, which may not seem surprising, but they were at sea for 35 days and they all tested negative before they left the port. All right. And this ship basically returned to port after some of its crew began exhibiting symptoms typical of COVID-19. And 57 out of 61 crew members were diagnosed with the virus after undergoing a new test. However, they all had undergone 14 days of mandatory quarantine at a hotel in the port city before they left, and they had negative results. So how could they have gotten COVID
Correct.
at sea when they all had tested
Could
negative?
it be the ship's infected?
Well, you know, if the ship was infected, that is a possibility, but the virus doesn't last that long. But that is definitely...
That is the point. That could it be now, and I hate to say this, that the incubation period has started to change? Just because it's a laboratory case, literally this one.
Okay, not necessarily, because there are a lot of ways that you can look at this, okay?
Yeah, but
so,
this, one of the
that's at
ways is-
least likely because the virus, being a coronavirus, does not mutate very fast. It actually mutates very
True,
slowly.
but when the tests were taken, they were all negative. They go onto the ship, right? I mean, the trawler. There was a...
Yeah.
And then...
But
you
it's not
realize
possible.
that
If they had tested negative, it does not mean that they had the virus at all.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Incubation
then
period-
No, you see, they were in quarantine. They were in quarantine.
Yeah.
And they finished their quarantine. And then it's like, okay, none of them have it. It's negative. You come on the ship, on the trawler. And then somebody gets it that now 57 of the sailors are all infected. So some of the perspectives, I mean, just, it could be that, I don't know, just like one of the laboratory tests in Singapore for the student was incorrect, like we read
That
today.
one was a false negative.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or could it be
Sorry,
that-
false positive.
False
Yeah.
positive.
But
Yeah.
it was an
False
incorrect
positive. Yes,
test.
yes.
Could it be that you actually, we've always thought of the 14 days quarantine, So even then, after testing negative, did one of them was still asymptomatic and carrying the virus when they came on board?
Okay, it's more likely that the test was faulty rather than the quarantine period has changed, because that's not what they're finding. They actually are finding that you are most contagious before you show symptoms in the first week, and after that it wears off. So it's unlikely that it would have lasted. So if they really were negative, that wouldn't have been
But
the
Gilbert,
case.
there's something that I've read last 1 or 2 days with some trepidation, but I don't know how real this is. That some people are saying that the virus has gone airborne.
Okay, this is a very important
that
point.
We spoke about.
Yeah, this is a very important point, is that there is a definition of airborne virus. For example, measles is an airborne virus. That means to say that measles is a nanovirus. It is so tiny that after I leave the room and I'm infected, it remains in the air for hours and hours and hours after that. This coronavirus is not like that. This coronavirus it is carried in aerosol. So basically, after I talk and I'm infected, tiny droplets still remain in the air, but not as long as an airborne virus. A true airborne virus lasts for hours and hours.
you know,
This
Gilbert,
one here
yeah.
tends to settle.
Correct. But what we've also noticed, I mean, ever since we've started, in our humble opinion, and we've talking, you can slowly see as though the coronavirus, the symptoms, the way people are, getting more information is changing.
No, it's not so
and
much
that's
that,
why I'm
is
like,
that they're
is this a
discovering
laboratory
more.
case?
No,
yeah,
they're
is it a
discovering more.
Yeah, and that's what I mean.
But I think
that the
net-
change in the symptoms,
Net-
younger people getting it more.
Net.
Lots of other,
net off.
lots of other symptoms coming up. At one point of time, I clearly remember, elderly people are more immune, are more likely to
Yes,
get it.
which is still
next
true.
next thing now in the US, lots of young people getting it.
But I think that's genetics,
it's just
I
change.
suppose.
Okay, no. It's not so much that it changes, that they're discovering new things, and there's a reason for that. And I'll tell you some
So
of the
that's why
reasons, which are actually very
when
interesting.
we see the symptoms, new symptoms coming,
Yeah.
you discover that you're discovering new
Okay,
things.
guys. I think I'm going to say this. If we want to find out more about this, just catch Gilbert Cheah's Health Zone, and that's where we can address more of that.
Okay, so now that I don't have my own show, I noticed that in our humble opinion has become the platform for you to talk about your show and you to
Just
talk
a quick
about
mention.
your show. No, so
Yes.
either producer. Either you give me my own show, so I can also pipe in and say. Otherwise, between these two, I have
You're
nothing
welcome
to say.
to talk about your own.
Yeah, you
I
are.
don't have,
Let's
know,
talk about
my
Daisy now, basically. Who does your hair, Daisy?
Oh, that's thank you.
It's a lovely shade of salt and pepper.
Thank you. It's natural.
Oh, really? And I like the fact that the grey is very silvery and not yellow, because very often when grey hair, it can be yellow.
But will it become yellow later on?
No. It
So
means
if
your
it's
genes
this way-
are like this.
So, that's it. Talking about
Unless you
genetics
have a
now.
nutritional deficiency. But that's for my show.
Okay.
Oh, there he goes back to his show.
Okay, Chris.
Well, Daisy, you can always put in your shameless plug once you have your show going.
Yes.
And we will gladly support you.
Yeah.
In any case, where the Argentinian ship is concerned, it
But your
remains
point
a
is
mystery.
actually it's a possibility that the ship could carry the infection, because they did find that the virus could remain active on stainless steel for 4 days,
Yeah,
and
could be.
all that. So that's a possibility. Or they smuggled on board a mermaid that was infected, basically.
Oh, that would be a different mystery. Like
Okay.
Incredible Tales.
And I'm always the one doing all the funny stuff, but now Gilbert can take over all that from now onwards. Right.
You
now,
mean the mermaid
This
part?
is where Daisy's gonna take us off with something that MediaCorp had done. And what have they done?
No, I think, look, I'm going to talk about it. Let's be neutral. Let's not start the blame game before we know exactly.
Not blaming anybody.
Correct?
Let's
Yeah.
tell them the story.
No,
Tell us a story.
Just very simply, there is a show called My Guardian Angels, which is about, I think, 3 single mothers. Important to know it's on Channel 8. Important to know that I have not watched it, but this is, again, information that we found on the net. And yes,
Well, it's
there
a
is
big controversy now.
Yes, there is a controversy because there was a character in, I think, the show the character was played by Chase Dunn, right?
Chase, that's right.
And
Who's a friend?
Who was he chasing? Okay,
No,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
This character was depicting a gay person, and they showed the character in a very deviant way, very negative stereotype, playing a pedophile.
So he
and,
was
you know.
chasing someone.
Yeah, but for what really happened was that the show went on, and there was a very, very strong backlash from the LGBTQ community
And allies.
and allies.
Yeah.
And then MediaCorp came forward and they did
issued
give
an
an apology.
Yes.
Now, for me, I think the way I would look at it is this: the fact that for a while now, gay characters, LGBTQ community, they've always been portrayed in negative light. I don't know if any time apologies have been issued. But what I do find interesting now is that, yes, this is the time you use the social media in a positive way. Again, going back to the change we were talking. No, this is not acceptable. Yes, you're a national broadcaster. Yes, you have your rules. You have your reasons. Maybe, like I said, it was just an error of judgment, the way you portray a character. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. But what my takeaway from this incident is that that's when the community gets together and says, no more,
Yep.
stop.
Yep.
Now, again, what I hope to see is that, yes, they've apologized, you move on. What might happen is this one day wherein very easily in our dramas, in our sitcoms, in our docudramas, characters like this become part of the cause. They are part of the team, not as in I need a character from the LGBT community to hate, to show in a negative way. But once they become a part of the natural process, you know what? One day you can take a gay character and show him negatively or her negatively. Because that's like what we would do with any of our characters.
Right,
When
right.
we have characters in shows,
Okay.
there's always a villain, you know.
Sure.
So
I
I
think that-
see that
yeah.
as a positive
But
way
it's because there
moving
are so
forward.
few gay characters on TV at all.
Yeah.
And that
Yes.
whenever they do appear, they are negative. And not just negative in a subtle way, but negative in
In
a
a very
really
obvious-
overt way. This
You know-
guy is a pedophile trying to
Is a
seduce
deviant, yes.
children,
yes.
you know,
But Gilbert,
catches
sorry,
an STD.
I just need to tell you something. Again, it just might be my ignorance, but on Channel 5, with whom I worked for many, many years, in my memory, I don't remember having obviously a character
Yes,
that was
yes,
gay.
yes.
And of course, you told me that on Channel 8.
Channel
there
8
have
is a bit
been
different.
many.
Yes, Channel 8
First
is
of all,
definitely
that
different.
itself,
Yeah.
I don't understand why is this distinction
One-
that in channel. I mean, because at the end of the day, we are all Singaporeans. You might, yes, it's a Mandarin channel. Yes, this is an English channel.
They tend to be more conservative. I think that the people who work at Channel 5 tend to be more westernized and
But that's my question. That on Channel 5, which is the English channel, we've not had
well, that's good.
No, so that's a different discussion altogether.
Yeah.
But like you pointed out, on Channel 8, it's been on from 1992.
Yes, they've been
And
these
being
characters.
portrayed negatively.
Yes, yes.
I just think that whatever it is, just don't vilify people.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you're right. You know, Gilbert. I mean, at the end of the day, a pedophile need not necessarily be a gay person.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
I mean,
That's
you
the point.
cannot, You
The-
cannot create a stereotype like that and vilify people.
Yep.
Now, you know, obviously, there's going to be a segment of people in society is going to go, yeah, but you know, we are not objecting to it. No, it's just wrong.
It's just wrong.
Okay,
Absolutely.
And you know,
Yeah.
frankly speaking, to me, everyone has got to be welcomed and treated with sufficient respect and
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
And there's no need for us to go that kind of direction.
Look, I
Yeah.
think importantly, if you go back a bit, you'll realize that first of all, if you look at the steps, as far as the national broadcaster was concerned, for a while at least, this community did not even exist in Singapore, because a lot of these stories, though they are supposed to reflect our normal lives,
So they can't
were not
because of
shown.
MDA. I mean,
right.
it's clear. MDA has very clear rules about this, which is that you cannot show this in a positive lifestyle.
Alternate lifestyles in a
et
positive
cetera,
manner.
right? So my answer then to that would be, then if you cannot say anything nice,
Don't say
Don't
anything,
say
at
anything
all.
at all.
Yeah,
Correct.
exactly.
But that is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
For me, what my takeaway is, all this time it was, okay, so I portray you negatively or I don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
This backlash, when you actually had to come out and apologize,
Yes. It took a
is
while
the
too
beginning
also.
to say, okay,
Yeah.
we can portray characters
Yes,
like
yes.
that, and maybe they are
And-
normal,
and-
natural characters.
absolutely, you know, that's the
I
thing.
mean,
is
they
that
exist.
They
The
exist.
normal,
And
natural,
many of
wonderful
them work
characters.
at MediaCorp, for goodness sakes, you know. I have to, you know, at least commend Chase for quickly apologizing about this when he realized that there was such a big backlash. He did a very personal contrite apology on his own social media. It took MediaCorp a while because, you know, the first thing they said was, we're sorry if anyone was offended, which is always the bullcrap way of apologizing. I'm sorry if you were
Is that
offended.
is actually,
you know?
yeah.
Then after that, they issued another one to say that we're sorry that we did offend.
This is where I think, you know, doing what we're doing here in this show and all of the shows that we do outside of the sphere of what people like Chase are doing, is that at least, it seems to me, that at least we could discuss our creative angles and, of course, our, you know, what we object to, what we agree to on what we're going to do on the show.
Yeah.
So perhaps maybe some, I don't know, I hope if, you know, that some leeway be given to artists to look at the script and say, guys, I don't think this is right.
Yes.
Rather than just let it.
That's
I'm
my
being
question.
I'm being paid to do this, so I got
Yes.
to do it, right? I've acted for MediaCorp before when it was called TCS, and there was a time when I had to get down on my knees and bark like a dog right in the middle of Citibank. And then
That was an acting role?
Yes. No, I had to do that particular scene, play that particular scene. It was a long time ago.
Did you do it?
I did it because why? This is what the director said to me.
Wow.
You read the script, you knew it, you accepted it, so you got to do it.
And what was your answer?
Yeah. Well, I had to do it, and I did it. But the thing, because there's professionalism. But that being said, they didn't say that it was going to be done like that there.
Yeah.
So and the way it was communicated was very smug.
No.
If quite honestly,
Because they had the power.
yeah, it was so smug.
No,
I
think,
have a question.
I
Don't
think
be
we shall
biased.
hold
Media
this.
call.
No,
Don't
I'm
be
not being
biased.
biased, but I shall hold this debate for another time
Yeah.
because it's more complicated than that. The relation between
That's my
a
question, is that
scriptwriter, an
basically,
actor, a
yes,
director, it's
My
got
question
many
is that because
levels.
MediaCorp functions very much like the old Hollywood studio system.
Yeah, I say you do.
How,
Where you are signed on as a contract person with MediaCorp, and then they produce shows and they cast you in it. Hollywood used to function this way in the 1940s, for example, and 50s, where they had all the stars under, so 20th Century Fox has its stable of stars, and all of that, right? MediaCorp still functions that way. So my question is, and this is a genuine question because I don't know. So a person like, for example, if you're Zoe Tay and you are a contract with them, and they write a role, you can't refuse it, right? I mean, is it within your power to refuse it?
correct. So that's
If you refuse it from the onset, for example, I don't want to accept the role, and that's it. You just don't get the job. You don't get paid.
Wow.
But I think a nice full disclosure would be great, lah. You know.
To let you know.
I
But-
think, like I said again, you don't know exactly the workings of what happens there, right? I mean, I've been there for 20 years. It is a bit more complicated. It is not as simple as I see it, I refuse it, or I see it and I can go over and say, okay, change it. Writers, like I said, they have their own way of looking at it. Then you have the sponsors who come in. Then you have the censors who come in. I mean, it's got many, many levels.
Yeah,
And
no, I
this,
understand.
when I have my own show, I will be talking about this. Hello, producer.
I was head writer for season 2 of Heartlanders for
Correct.
For
Correct.
Kenneth
For
Liang, who
Kenneth,
is our boss here. So I know we had discussions with the actors about characters and roles. They had their input and all of that. So my feeling is that in this case, Chase would have known this character from the very beginning and could have said no, but we don't know. We
Whether
don't know
he
how.
was allowed
How
to
much
say
can
no.
Yeah,
he? Now, also
exactly.
more than that, I mean, you see, you can always turn around and tell that character that, listen, we've been having so many shows like this. There have been these characters, like you said,
Yes,
from
terrible.
1992
Yeah,
we've been
yeah.
having. So what are you getting so upset about? It'll come, the show, it'll do well, it'll move on.
Yeah,
move
because-
on.
no, because
But
it's a
the
different
time,
society. The
Correct.
times have
Times
changed.
have changed, and that is what we
Exactly.
should take away.
Yes.
That's the
Yeah.
fantastic part.
And
but
now,
after you, I want to just wrap up.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that we have got the internet now to be able to do shows like this where we can talk openly.
Correct.
Everything from
Correct.
censorship to Jameis to Tete and whatever it is.
So the idea is, in a nutshell, that we don't judge them, we don't judge them at all, and
We
if we
don't
want
judge.
to judge, So, on that note of not
of Tete and
and
Kukujiao.
what was Kukujiao, I would like to have the closing
before you do
words.
that, notice I didn't say a word. It wasn't me
No,
saying
you
all
said
those things.
kukujiao.
Okay, it was
And you said
Gilbert who
tete.
went all those. I'm not repeating it. Okay.
Okay.
I'm
Guys, do not
I'm
repeat
just
it.
recognizing and appreciating the rawness of
The female
Chris
anatomy.
Henson.
Oh,
Guys,
okay.
okay,
Right.
no, chop. No,
Everybody.
no more going into those words
Yes,
or anything.
okay, all right.
I want you all to say something wonderful to wrap it up.
Okay, all right. Let me just wrap up. So
Yeah.
we live in very difficult times right now. We've just had a bruising, weird election period, unexpected results. But I like to think positive and think that this is all very good for the country. But I think that it's not just the politicians; it is us as voters, as citizens, and as residents of Singapore, they need to play our part. And I appeal to people, please don't just go to the lowest common denominator, especially online, because you can spread a lot of ignorance and hate and anger that way, and this is not what we want. As Pritam has said, basically we all have to work together now. Whatever your political feelings and everything, we're a tiny little country, and in this ship we are all in together. Let's all work to make it really sail smoothly. Governments are not the only solution. Everyone else really has to play a part.
Wonderful.
Whether it's in COVID or whether it is in fighting stereotypes or whether it is in helping the country move ahead. We all have a part to play with this, and it's not just a cliche. This is really an earnest call on all of us there. So that's it. Be safe and be kind.
Chris?
I normally leave all the sweet stuff and all this nice positive stuff to Daisy and Gilbert, and I just want, I'm not going to be negative. I'm just going to say one thing meaningful, and that would be hey, hello, we are in phase 2 lah. We all want phase 3 lah.
Yes.
And then we need to really open the economy because we are in a very, very deep recession at this time, yeah? So, guys, let's keep the community numbers down. If you don't have anything to do, stay the heck at home. And lastly, I need, and this is serious, please tell me whether or not I should leave my hair this way all the time. Thank you very much. Okay, Daisy, yours.
Okay.
all
Okay.
yours.
I just want to say yes, your hair
First
looks
time
very
without a
cute,
cap.
and your hair looks very cute, and you look like a young boy when you fat, sweet boy.
Fat.
But
Fat.
okay,
I
wait.
didn't say that.
All right,
I
wait.
didn't say that.
I just
I'm-
want to
Oh,
say,
I quit.
hello, wait.
I quit.
Before you quit, let me wrap up the episode by saying, all of you know, as we went through the topics, that how much work we as a country, as a community, need to continuously keep doing to keep our lives in order. Whether it's about being mindful, it's about being safe, and about leading our lives without prejudice. So I just want to say, in the words of Arnold Bennett, who's a playwright, a writer, any change, even a change for the better, is always accompanied by drawbacks and discomforts. So hey guys, we have to keep working at it. Let's get the change going in a positive, dynamic way. And listen to our podcast, wherever you go. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.